Hi, and welcome everyone to wholesoulschool and Foundation's Fireside Chats for March 2020. My name is Marie Mohler, and I am an author, intuitive, and co-founder of wholesoulschool and Foundation. I am here with my co-host and co-founder, Lacy Frazer, who is a clinical psychologist by training and a practicing life coach and consciousness educator today. Welcome back, everyone, to wholesoulschool and Foundation's inspiring Fireside Chats podcast series. I first want to remind our listeners, new and old, that our mission here at wholesoulschool and Foundation is to educate, enrich, integrate, and liberate the heart and soul in people worldwide. Additionally, we also support projects, products, and other philanthropic missions that educate and empower people whose lives have been impacted by incarceration. We hold a core belief that the conversation and the connection we share here is the education. And we are dedicated to sharing these inspirations with our amazing listeners and audience here to hopefully ignite your passion, freedom, grounding, peace, purpose, empowerment, and personal transformation in your life today. So I want to welcome Lacy to the conversation today. Welcome, Lacy.
Hi, Marie. Wonderful to be here again. Feels like it's been a long time.
It does. And we really want to first share tonight, right, Lacy, that we're going to be doing something different this month than we'd planned. Isn't that the way our lives are going right now? That we have to be open and flexible to listen to the guidance and let go of what we thought our lives should be or our days should be or our work schedules or anything right now. We're really in a place we've kind of gone off grid.
Absolutely.
With all that's changing right now on the planet in every country, in every community. And it's calling us to go a little off grid and off what we'd planned for each month. So we've been focusing on James Redfield's Celestine Insights in 2020. But given the events happening in the world and given some inner nudges that we're feeling, we're going to go off script, so to speak. And we want to focus on topics that speak to the heart of the human experience on the planet right now as we feel moved. And so tonight we're going to be sharing some insights with you, with all of our listeners, from some of our own life experiences and our talents. And we invite you to get comfortable and join us in this heart-centered conversation and sharing today. So thank you for joining me and for, really being willing to do what we do in our lives often very well. But sometimes when you have a plan of like we were going to cover James Redfield, Celestine Insights, one per month, I think right now I'm feeling called, I don't know about you, Lacy, but to speak from my heart a little bit more and listen to the pulse of what people are going through on the planet, what inspiration they might be needing, what messages they might be seeking versus a script that we follow.
Oh yeah, I think it would be crazy not to do what we're talking about doing during these times, and not to minimize or diminish the meaning of the Celestine Insights.
Right.
But I think that these are unprecedented times, Marie, and they call for unprecedented measures on so many different levels. And as we go through our days and evenings, both at home and still some work out in the real world, I think both of us are realizing just that there's a new way of being and thinking right now. We're having to move outside of our box. We're having to think outside of our box. We're having to make decisions on the fly. Things are changing, every 24 hours. And I just think it's a remarkable, remarkable time. And I think it calls for us to turn on a dime, to pivot in a moment's notice, and to make difficult decisions, and to make decisions that sometimes are actually quite easy to make. And I think when you and I started talking about this conversation, we both sort of came to the same conclusion, which was we really both felt called and moved to discuss and approach this in a different way. And so I'm delighted to be here, and I'm really excited to have a conversation in a different way with you. And I think we both came up with some good ideas, and I think we both sort of landed in the same place, which is, both our hearts are talking to us and leading us to a place of needing to feel grounded in every moment.
Yeah.
And when we don't feel that way, asking ourselves, how can I feel that way? How can I get back to center? How can I get back to feeling grounded in a time when sort of chaos and uncertainty is the name of the game right now? So,
Right.
So anyway, I go ahead.
Just for this time, for people who listen to this podcast kind of in real time in March of 2020, but for anybody that would go back and find this in the archives months or even years from now, I just want to be sure that I'm referencing that this is the time that people all over the world are dealing with the coronavirus and how that's changing our daily rhythms and what we're focused on right now, the things we have to let go, the schedules we'd all been full powered, high powered, moving on. Like our world culture is always moving forward and taking the next steps and taking action. And this seems to be a time because of this virus that's calling us into kind of a pause button or a stillness in all the rat race and the distractions and the noise and the energy and all the momentum of our lives. And so, we're having to trust. It brings up security issues and safety issues and fear for a lot of people. For some people, they might be feeling feelings of inconvenience, or they don't understand, or, this is a trigger point for a lot of different kinds of people who have different trigger points, but it seems to be touching all aspects of life, right? And everyone, regardless of age. And so,
well, I've been saying this is non-discriminating, and
Right.
it's you hear about places in the world. I was thinking today about, there are places that have sustained a tsunami or an earthquake or the fires in California or in other parts of the country, Australia. We can have empathy, and we can send love, and we can have compassion for all of these places and all of the people impacted. But no time in my lifetime do I ever remember something that touched everyone at the same time.
Right.
That truly is non-discriminating. And I just think that's remarkable. And I'd like to choose to look at it like an opportunity for all of us to almost wake up to the need to examine our life more closely, to engage in self-reflection, find the still point, appreciate the little things.
Right. I was going to say appreciation for sure. Mm-hmm. And it's not always everyone's first thought when you're called into an experience of change that happens quite as rapidly as this has unfolded in many ways. So, when we were both getting ready for this conversation today, it came through very strongly for me to share a story that I wrote and published. I'm not even quite sure, but it was around 2008, 2009 time frame. And it was a series of stories that I've written and published around the same time that I was given inspiration during when I was coming out of a time, almost a storm in my life, some really challenging circumstances. And a number of those stories, while they're all different characters in the story, only later after they were written did I realize that most of those characters, of course, are versions of me going through the lessons of life and the different circumstances that we'd been facing and that I faced in my own unique way. And I was inspired and nudged really to write those books, write those insights into messages that can inspire others. Mm-hmm. And one of those stories is called Little Bird's Earth Nest. And I'm going to read that to you first, and then we can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah,
right?
Wonderful, wonderful.
So, Little Bird's Earth Nest. One day when the sun was shining brightly through the trees and the river's rolling waters were singing their sweet song, a mama bird looked lovingly at her little bird. Little bird, it is time for you to feel the sun on your face, to spread your wings, and to make your own way in the forest, she said. Little bird looked up at her mother, knowing it was time, but still feeling not quite ready to fly her own path. The mama bird looked at her daughter and said, I am going to tell you a story that my mother once told me. Little bird, she said lovingly, this whole earth is your nest that you will rest in now. It is a sweet nest. It is a strong nest. It is a nest that gives you everything you need to survive, thrive, and succeed. Relax in your nest, little bird, and let divine love shine on you like the sun. Feel the rays of God's love just like you feel the sun's rays. They shine on you and bring you peace, warmth, and happiness. You will always be surrounded by the safety of this earth nest. Relax in that safety, in the strong arms and heart of God. And relax in Mother Earth's nest. Feel her embrace. In that safety, when you are ready, you can reach out to the sun and the night stars. Their light and loving guidance will carry you to where you are to be. You will feel and you will know in your heart that I too am always with you, loving you and helping you to feel safe in your journey. God, Mother Earth, and I will bring the wind that flows beneath your wings. From there, little bird, you will make your own home in Mother Earth's arms, and there you will have all that you need. Little bird, I believe in you and in this beautiful nest that awaits you. Little bird listened intently to her mother's story. She looked up at the great sun and felt its warmth and light. She remembered the billions of stars that would soon shine in the night sky. She imagined how they would be her angel guides, helping her to nestle into her new earth nest. Little bird smiled at her mother, and she understood. The sweet song of the river called to her as she spread her wings and faced the sun. She nuzzled Mama Bird once more and then arose into the evening sky. She paused just a moment to thank Mama Bird, God, and Mother Earth for all of the great love lighting her path, supporting her to fly. It is a sweet nest, Little Bird thought, as the soft wind carried her over the treetops and into the light of the setting sun. She felt the richness of God's perfect divine love. Yes, she felt strong in her earth nest indeed. Mother Earth is a very special nest. Journey with love. Feel the wind beneath your wings and the sun on your face. Live in bountiful grace. Spread your wings and shine your light.
I just feel like I'm encased in a warm blanket.
It is.
Know?
It's a story that I think that's meant for all of us when there's uncertainty and when we're having to take these next steps into something we don't really know what it's going to bring. Little Bird is all about having to fly your own path. And some of that is when you're taking a leap of faith and creating a new project or starting a new business or starting a new job or going in some way in a new direction and you're not exactly quite sure how that's going to unfold. But this message was given to me from a Native American guide who told me the story of what they used to teach on the planet a long time ago. And so this has traces of ancient wisdom. I think that's why there's something that feels like a warm blanket, because it is a story that I think was told to us a long time ago. And it's coming back to remind us in even the most uncertain of times, the earth is our nest here. And there are ways to ground and to listen and to relax and to find a sense of peace and calm in the storms that do unfold on our world here. And I find this story is very comforting, and it's a nice anchor, and it's a great reminder to know that we're always supported, and there's so much support from the earth and from whatever we call that source, creator, God. People can insert whatever, the light, the universe,
Right.
the great mystery. You can insert whatever name or word, language, all of that. But it's there for us. And sometimes we've gotten so busy in our lives and so disconnected from ourselves and each other and the planet that it's times like these that make us remember that we are all connected, that the earth is our home, that we have to take care of our home, and we have to help each other. And we're being asked to help each other in different ways right now with this pandemic on the planet. But it's all got the same roots in really that deeper divine interconnectedness that we have, the support that's always there for us, the wind that's always wanting to, support us underneath our wings. And that if we really do take these steps to value each other and value and appreciate the things in our world that is sort of goodness rising, health and wellness rising, the beautiful things of this world that want to rise and desire our conscious attention, not just as individuals, but as a collective, right? We're being invited to do that. Like, this is a planetary issue that is triggering each of us in its own ways. And we have the option of going into fear or going into that place of feeling held, safe, embraced, loved, secure. And I think this is a beautiful story. And for parents who might be listening to this, you're certainly welcome to Google my name or look for me on Amazon. I'm also on a site called lulu.com. And you can also go to my site, frequencywriter.com, just to find the story, but you obviously can hear it here at any point. But there's beautiful illustrations that go along with it, and they're just a great story for, really, I would say, the inner child in all of us that wants to hear, it's going to be okay. Your family's going to be okay. Your kids are going to be okay. The planet's going to be okay, right? There's a grounding in that belief that there's light in everything. Even in this virus, there's light. There's nothing that isn't part of the light. The light is inside everything and everyone. And when we just take some deep breaths and we ground in that energy and in stories like these and the reminders, we step outside of time a little bit, right? We step outside of the compression and the worry and the stress and the unknown and the uncertainty that triggers our egos to start chattering away and telling us all of its fears and the things it might be concerned about, or even if it's just an irritation or an inconvenience that our lives have been disrupted in this way. However anyone is experiencing this, it's an opportunity to take a breath, go into an energy that's loving, that's bigger than all of this, right? Because that probably, I'm not a medical doctor, but it soothes the system. It calms us down, which supports our immune system and helps us stay healthier. Stress and fear reduce our immune system. They weaken it, right?
Right.
And these are the kinds of energies that strengthen us. And so this book seemed to want to come into our conversation tonight.
Yeah. And I'm really glad it did. I've spent the last couple of days going into the workplace and stepping and meeting people and crossing paths with people who sort of have one of two responses. They are in deep fear or they are, okay, this is no big deal. I'm going to be fine. And I think no matter where you're coming from or what end of the spectrum you're on, I would encourage people to ground in something like this, or stories or family stories or family activities. Find ways to engage in peaceful activities, conversation,
nature.
I was going to say, especially nature. Turn off the TV, dare I say it? You don't need to feed the fire or fan the flames of fear. we know that increases stress, and we know that stress weakens the immune system and increases illness in ourselves. So I think that whatever we can do to understand that this too shall pass, that we need to take care of ourselves in any way we can. I have to say, and a lot of people are posting this on Facebook, I think, and other social media sites, but I've seen more people out in my community playing as a family. A family out today playing catch. When was the last time that you walked around a neighborhood and you saw people gathering and doing things like that? Most people are usually inside or at, running around from a
shuttling
job
from one place to another.
Right. Or watch in front of a video game or something like that. And
it's interesting. We didn't lose electricity. But yet we're feeling called to come together in the safety measures that have kind of been outlined for all of us. But still, that in the stress of the situation on the planet, there is this just intuitive awareness of connecting with something that's real. Whether it's going outside and being in
I think
nature.
What's happening is people are they're getting cooped. They're either starting to feel cooped up in their home, or they're seeing the writing on the wall that we could have to be in our homes more in the future. Who knows? But they are parents who are trying to get their kids outside in nature again, so that they're not.
And just some fresh air, even.
Fresh air.
And fresh air is grounding and soothing. Like there's a natural, if we listen and we don't fight what this is, there's this natural, intuitive attraction to be grounded, to stay calm, to listen differently, to move differently in our lives. And I think there are some silver linings in moments like this where we're called into a greater connection with ourselves and something larger than ourselves.
Yep.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think that there's a lot circulating on social media right now about the blessings of this situation and what it's bringing forth.
Yeah.
And I think at some level there's sort of a reset going on, a recalibration within ourselves as individuals, in families, in businesses, all around the planet. We're sort of having to reset, recalibrate, reprogram, sort of reconnect. Reorient.
For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is going to be the talk of the blessing of all of this.
Yeah.
And I think it could look at a lot of different ways to a lot of different people.
Yeah.
But
we often collect the gifts of an experience after we've been through that. That's what this story, Little Bird's Earth Nest, it was one of the gifts of what I'd already journeyed.
Yes.
Right. And this scenario too on the planet is we're living the gifts, but we may not recognize them while we're living it right now. But appreciation and those simple things that we can look and identify in our life, the things that are working, the health we do have, the people we do know and love, what a gift life really is for many of us. And so I know I feel that when I just get the regular flu, and I had that earlier in 2020. And so 2 weeks of that experience makes you really learn from contrast. And I remembered loving when my energy came back and my appetite returned and my body's immune system did what it is meant to do. And it brought me through that experience, and I feel stronger from that experience. And I think that there's a time for grounding and really looking at the simple things of appreciation in nature, things in life that are free. It doesn't cost anything to appreciate something except for, a little bit of your time and your conscious attention.
Yeah.
And all of these things, that's also when the world slows down and the whole supply chain is kind of slowing down a bit, and the whole workforce, the machine, the engine that powers an entire world is really slowing down to a reset. It's like the gears were turning one way and we're slowing to a deep still point to turn us maybe in a different direction. And doesn't the world need that at this time?
Yes.
Wouldn't we all love to see a different world emerge out of this experience where everybody has what they need, where maybe we don't need to work so hard or live such stressful lives, always striving and rarely fully enjoying just the gift of the present moment. We're always out of the present moment because when we're running around and we're so busy and striving all the time, we miss what's happening in the present tense, the presence inside us.
Amen.
So talk about all those gifts and presence.
Yes.
Our soul presence, our present conscious awareness, the gifts of these times. And I know this doesn't mean that there aren't people right now dealing potentially with illness, whether it's this virus or something else.
Or financial loss.
Right? There's many things that any one of us can be going through, ourselves included.
Absolutely.
We're all facing this at some level. And yet, if we place our faith in this like little bird's earth nest story, that the message is that the earth's got us. Like the earth's holding us. The earth is our nest, and there's an energy to that if we can learn to let go of all we thought was necessarily important in the big engine, right, of all of that global energy. And we listen for what's really important across the world and the peace that so many people desire. We'd like world peace, you know. We'd like a new level of true harmony that's lived, and we don't need the wars anymore, right? This is a still point to reflect. I think you used the word reflection in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, there's an opportunity to reflect on something in your life in this time of what you value, what's important to you, and how you can ground in the gifts of knowing that and connecting if you feel called to something larger than yourself. And for me, I have a deep connection to the earth. But that's something I had to learn how to recultivate after I went through my initial awakening process that summoned a deeper consciousness in me. And Lacy, why don't you share a little bit about your what this time and what these energies remind you when you're thinking of grounding and finding calm in the storm?
Yeah, I mean, you know, there are two sort of metaphors that come to mind that I call on a lot. I call on for myself, and I call on in my teachings with other people. And I give a lot of sailing metaphors. For many of you who've listened to us, you know that I've spent a lot of time on sailboats, at least in my younger years, and that hasn't been lost. I have deep memory of what it was like to live on a boat and travel on sailboats, and I do long for that again someday. But for now, I definitely use the metaphors of sailing and boating a lot, and I want to share one of my favorite ones, which is sort of how there are two ways, I think, when you're a boater that you face a storm. You know a storm is coming. And if you're out on the open water and a storm sneaks up on you, and we've talked about this in previous podcasts, is facing the boat into the wind is the one way that you're going to avoid capsizing the boat. And you face the boat into the wind, the sails are not able to fill with the wind, and you ride out the storm by facing the wind. And then the second, which is, I think, more apropos for our current situation, is the feeling that you know a storm is coming, and so how are you going to plan for that? And a sailor will look for a cove or a safe space to anchor the boat for the night or the week or however long the storm is scheduled to be around, and you want to find a place that has land on three sides and a place that is largely protected from the wind and the storm, and you can throw down not just one anchor but probably three anchors, one off the bow and one off the port and the starboard sides of the boat, and you've got three anchors down, and that's when you sit
get out some cards, a game of cards.
You go below deck and you cross your fingers and you say, we're going to ride this one out. And you can hear the wind and you can feel the waves battering the sides of the boat. And you know you're okay because you've prepared yourself. You've put yourself in a safe place. And
you've anchored.
You've anchored.
Grounded.
Exactly. And you trust. And you have faith, and you're with the people you care about, and all is well as you ride through the storm. And so, there's a lot of people in the world right now who are actually being forced to do that. They might not elect to do that,
right?
But they're being forced to do that.
Most of us don't necessarily elect to do these things until an invitation comes. And sometimes, like you said, sometimes you have time to plan for a storm, and sometimes the storms just appear
upon you,
and they come upon you. And in this one, it seemed like it was, we may have seen in the distance, but it was,
came pretty quick.
And it's at an accelerated pace that wasn't quite anticipated. So I think we are all, the metaphor that both of you and I tapped into, we went into our inner reserves, we went into our inner sanctuaries of the skills we've acquired through experience in this life. And, we tapped into that deep taproot, that deep anchor, that groundedness inside that can bring the calm in the storms. And both of us are talking about having a faith, I think you used that word, and a trust. You prepare, you get yourself, as ready as you can. You find that protection on all three sides in your example, right? And then you do the things.
But isn't it, Marie, so, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just have to say, isn't it so interesting that both stories we both went to were about nature and the natural elements that were going to keep us safe?
Right.
Right? It is. We aren't discussing our house per se. We didn't discuss our job or these things. We both went to the earth in some way.
Right.
And I think that's important. I think there's something important about that.
Oh, I think there's a wisdom in that. Mm-hmm. And even if the storms come from the earth has a remedy for them. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. So storms can kick up in our lives now and at any point in time, but we also have the remedy and the antidote for any of those things. Mm-hmm. And it usually involves engaging that deeper faith. Many of us, until these times or these invitations or these experiences find us, it's a concept. It's a conceptual thing that we seem to think we know and understand, right? You think you have belief systems about a particular topic or issue in the world until it's your experience.
Right.
And then you get to live whether those belief systems work and hold, really can withstand the gale force winds that you might go through.
Yes.
And that's when faith is tested. It's a belief and it becomes faith when you really ground in your beliefs and you let go. That letting go moment, right, is when faith takes over, and the beliefs are what lifted you up to that place. But now it's in the surrendering and the letting go that the faith takes over, and that's where the higher ground is. That's where we're talking about the anchoring in the actual earth, but the higher ground to get even beyond any of these storms is in our spirit, is in our soul presence, is in our consciousness, is in that place inside us that's wiser beyond this timeline, that's bigger beyond whatever this virus or any particular challenge globally or locally or whatever personally can bring. And that's what you want to tap into. And I speak from experience that I've experienced a number of storms, I would say, in my life. And this is another one, right? And I don't know the outcome, just like most of us don't know the outcome yet, because we haven't lived through this. But we are riding these waves and riding out this storm together. And hopefully maybe your story about the boat and the wisdom you have as a sailor, or this story from a little bird's earth nest and the earth being our nest, these are just two examples of options that we all have to tap into, how we connect with nature, how we can trust the Mother Earth again, right? And have faith. And when you get into that vibration and you get into that energy of trusting and engaging your faith and moving beyond just belief or concepts that are way up in our heads, we have to go down into our hearts. That's where you feel faith and trust, right? And that connectedness. That's when you can realize that everything's going to be okay. And I've probably said this before on other podcasts, but I watch nature And I'm sure there's times that, animals can, panic as a herd or whatever. Something can trigger that. But a lot of times I watch the animals when they know a storm is coming well before I do. They know it and they're not worried. They just seem to know where to move and where to be when the storms come. Mm-hmm. And nature guides them at some level of language that humans aren't yet hearing all the time. Mm-hmm. But we can. They're very natural at it. We have to practice it so we remember how to do it.
Right.
And I think, in these times right now that may continue to change, right? Things may change in lots of other aspects of our life as a result of what's happening because of this virus and border shutdowns and people being asked to stay home and not go into work. And all of these things may impact our lives and reset some things that we couldn't even imagine. That's never really been seen in any time in history. And we, the people on this planet right now are having, in many ways, the gift of being participants and witnesses to that transformation. We've talked all about transformation in our podcast last year in 2019. It was all about the journey of personal transformation. And at some level, the planet itself is transforming now. And we're seeing that larger energetic transformation, that the world is coming into a higher consciousness together. And this is just one of the ways it's manifesting. So we're all touched by something equally. Someone said, the sun shines down on all of us equally, right? And the same thing, the energy of this virus and this experience is touching all of us.
And we really have a choice. I think we really have a choice, just like we do with everything, on how to respond and how to react. And I think that I would call on everybody to do the best they can to not flame
fan the
flames of fear.
Yeah.
Because it will only hurt you in doing that. I think that the more we can find peace within, the more we can emanate love, the more we can help each other and care for each other, the more we can come together at this time to support each other and to support our families. The quicker, I don't know if I would say the quicker, but definitely sort of the better and the more easily we're going to ride these waves and get to the other side of all of this.
And the more we can strengthen ourselves and each other, and that could be strengthen our immune systems, strengthen our faith systems, like our belief systems, and just our faith in humanity and the strength our bodies, the fact that they know how to heal themselves. We can also be appreciating that when we cut ourselves, our bodies seem to know how to heal. And we have surgery and our bodies seem to know how to heal. We have that kind of incredible divine technology inside ourselves that we don't always think about, but it's there. And we have to go in and remember that from the inside out versus necessarily stay glued to the TV and, get very more and more triggered potentially by all of the reports. So the more we can stay centered in our truth and our knowing of the strength of our bodies and the strength of ourselves as humanity and the strength of this planet. There's a deep strength in this planet. So we are invited to connect at a deeper level inside ourselves. And so all of our messages at Whole Soul School and Foundation have been to invite people to connect at that deeper level in their own journey. And here we are with, some tasks already very early on in 2020. And I think 2020 promises a great deal of change. If 2020 is a year of some kind of clear vision, we are all in that 2020 sight journey right now to gain some clarity into ourselves and the world around us. And so powerful times. Definitely powerful times and requiring some flexibility. Like you're saying, if you're a sailor and you're out on the water and you see a storm all of a sudden kicking up, you have to have the flexibility that you don't keep following your course.
Exactly.
You may have to change your plans and go find that cove.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
And the same thing for even the little bird, just having to really trust that the path is going to be made, right? And the path is created by sometimes going into the uncertainty, because that's what makes the path.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So I want to thank you, Lacy, and all of our listeners for joining us and trusting us to keep bringing through messages that will inspire you. We aim to have one more podcast at least this month, but amidst the juggling of different schedules and different things that are happening in everybody's lives, we're leaving that open. But we do have the intention of a second podcast. And but I thank you for joining us tonight for the March 2020 Fireside Chats for Whole Soul School and Foundation. We invite you to like, subscribe, and share this podcast on from YouTube, as well as on social media networks, and to visit us at Whole Soul School and Foundation, our website. It will have that there as well. And if you also want to spend time with us on Facebook and all the social media platforms, we share some amazing inspirations every month, twice a week at least. And we have the poems of Flower Diamond. If you felt that way after listening to my Little Bird's Earth Nest, that's how I feel when I read Flower's amazing poetry for the soul. It is a medicine for the soul. How often do many of us take time to read poems and poetry right now? But I think we're going to get some time, right? So if you're having some time
right.
and you want some meaningful connection with some thoughtful prose, hang out with Flower Diamond on our Whole Soul School and Foundation pages on the social media networks. And
definitely a time for deeper reflection.
Yeah.
It's that still point, it's that pause, it's that time to reflect. And the universe is perfect in its design, and there's never a good time to take out of our life to do that. And so the universe sometimes says, let me give you a good time to do that. If
let
you're
me
not
help
gonna
you
do
with
it,
that.
Yeah, let me help you with that.
Right.
You're not going to do it on your own.
Right. And I think it's time. It's kind of a tipping point for humanity to take that turn, to shift gears, to turn the gears a different direction, because the one we're going in isn't quite working for all life on the planet right now. So there is a divine orchestration and unfoldment. And if we trust in that process, in whatever way our inner faith and our language inside us connects with that, there's something beautiful unfolding in every situation, even the most trying of times and the most challenging ones. Somehow there are these just amazing moments of grace that do happen. And I'm working to find those moments of grace inside myself and the shifts that are unfolding.
Absolutely.
So thank you to everyone for joining us. And if you feel called, please feel free to make a donation. We've changed banks on that's another shift that's happening in all all the things happening in March of 2020, that our fiscal sponsor, who is kind of our guide for the nonprofit, our financial guide, we've switched banks, and so we're in a process of rerouting that. So if you've tried to make a donation and had any glitches, feel free to email us at wholesoulschool@gmail.com, and rest assured that we're on our way to remedying that very soon. So we thank you. We hope you have a great week, a great couple of weeks.
Stay healthy, stay safe, stay grounded, find your cove, find your nest, and appreciate it and everything about life right now as much as you can.
Appreciation is a very gentle energy that I think can help all of us. So if you can find even the simplest thing to appreciate in difficult times, it gives you skills for this time and the next time that there are triggers that feel like something's beyond your control. You're already building those skills to journey life's changes with less fear and more empowerment. And that's what we're all about. Right. Greater empowerment and releasing fear is the goal.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
So thank you. Blessings, everyone. Have a great day.